So, hello, my name's Lauren, and
Lauren.
I just wanted to try out a long poem on you, so you guys are in for a kind of torturous. The songs I have are from Middle-earth, and I've been going around to different cafes doing pieces of it because it's such a long poem. And so tonight I was hoping I could do, are any of you familiar with the poem? It's called The Lay of Leithian. It's from the, Tolkien's material before he did The Lord of the Rings. This is the story of a man and an elf in the Second Age of Middle-earth who get together. And it's Beren is the man, Leithian is the elf. And it's in the, I think it's the Second Age of Middle-earth when they live in a place called Beleriand.
So are elves like female and male or what?
Yeah. Elves are both both sexes. The elves are immortal; they don't die. But they can be killed.
Oh, okay.
This is the story of how Beren, his name was Beren One Hand. He was called. How he met the elf Leithian. And you have to understand that in the Second Age of Middle-earth, there was this huge battle going on between Morgoth, who lived in Angband and had his... You saw The Lord of the Rings, right? That was Sauron, his apprentice, because Morgoth was eventually banned from the world. But this is in the battle that the elves were having with Morgoth, trying to regain these jewels called the Silmarils, that contain the light of the trees from Valinor. Like I said, it's a long story. The band of Barahir was a rebel group that was fighting Morgoth from the hills of Dorthonion, and Beren was a son of Barahir. And there was some treachery, and the band of Barahir was destroyed, except for Beren. He was out doing reconnaissance.
So go with the group.
I'm hoping you're connecting with what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So when Beren gets back, Beren gets back, there is just bloodshed all over the camp, and they're all gone. His father's dead there, and he's just shattered. And so he puts Barahir in a grave. Puts some stones on top of it, and makes an oath thrice that he will avenge his death. And then he leaves Dorthonion. Of hunters lord he had no need, their trail to find with little heed. His ruthless foes, secured and proud, marched north away with blowing loud. Of brazen horns their lord to greet, trampling the earth with grinding feet. Behind them bold but wary went, now Beren, swift as hound on scent, until beside a darkling well, where Ribble rises from the fell, down into Sarek's reach to flow, he found the slayers, found his foe. From hiding on the hillside near, he marked them all, the less in fear. Too many for his sword and bow to slay alone, then crawling low, the snake in grass he nearer crept, their many weary with marching slept. But captains, sprawling on the grass, drank it from hand to hand, let pass their booty, grudging each small thing, raped from dead bodies. One a ring, held up and laughed. Now mates, he cried, here's mine, and I'll not be denied, though few be like it in the land, for I 'twas wrenched it from the hand of that same Barahir I slew. The robber knave, if tales be true, he had it of some elvish lord for the rogue service of his sword. No help it gave to him, he's dead. The parlish elvish rings, 'tis said, stood for the gold, I'll keep it yea, and so eke out my niggard pay. Old Sauron bade me bring it back, and yet methinks he has no lack of weightier treasures in his hoard, the greater the greedier the lord. So mark ye, mates, ye all shall swear, the hand of Barahir was bare. And as he spoke, an arrow sped from tree behind and forward dead. Choking he fell with barb in throat, with leering face the earth he smote. Within his wolfhound grim there leapt, Beren among them too he swept aside with sword, caught up the ring, slew one who grasped him with a spring, back into shadows passed and fled before their yells of wrath and dread. Of ambush in the valley rang, then after him like wolves they sprang, howling and cursing, gnashing teeth, hewing and bursting through the heath, shooting wild arrows, sheaf on sheaf, a trembling shade or shaken leaf. In fateful hour was Beren born, he laughed at dart and wailing horn. Fleetest of foot of living men, tireless on fell and light on fen, elfwise in woods he passed away, defended by his habit grey of dwarvish craft and Nogrod made, where hammers rang in cavern shade. As fearless Beren was renowned when most haughty upon ground, where reckon folk would speak his name, foretelling that his after fame would even golden Harrow pass and Barahir or Bregalas. But sorrow now his heart had wrought to fierce despair, no more he thought in hope of life or joy or praise. but seeking so to spend his days, only that Morgoth deep should feel the sting of his avenging steel. Ere death he found an end of pain, his only fear was thraldom's chain. Danger he sought, and death pursued, and thus escaped the doom he wooed. And deeds of breathless daring wrought alone, of which the rumour brought new hope to many a broken man. They whispered, Baron, and began in secret swords to wed and soft by shrouded hearths at evening off. Songs they would sing of Baron's bow, of Dagmar his sword, and how he'd go silent to camps and slay the chief, or trapped in his hiding beyond belief, would slip away another night by mist or moon, or by the light of open day would come again, of hunters hunted, slayers slain. They sang of Gorgol the butcher hewn, of ambush in Ladros, fire in Droon, of 30 in one battle dead, of wolves that yelped like curs and fled. Yea, Morgoth himself with wound in hand, thus one alone filled all the land. With fear and death for Sauron's folks, his comrades were the beech and oak, that felled him not, and wary things with fur and fell and feathered wings, that silent wanderer dwell alone in hill and wild and waste of stone. They watched o'er his ways as faithful friends, yet seldom well an outlaw ends. And Morgoth was a king more strong in all the world as since in song. Recorded dark athwart the land reached out the shadow of his hand, at each recoiler returned again. 2 more were sent for one foe slain. All hope was quenched, new rebels killed. Quenched with the fires, the songs were stilled. Tree felled, heath burned, and through the waste marched the black host of orcs in haste. Almost they closed their ring of steel round Baron hot upon his heel. Now trod their spies within their hedge of all age, shone upon the edge of death. Aghast he stood at bay, and knew that he must die that day. Or leave the land of Barahir, his land beloved beside the mere. Beneath a heap of nameless stones must crumble those once mighty bones, forsaken by both son and kin, bewailed by reeds of iron. In winter's night the houseless north he left behind, and stealing forth the leaguer of his watchful foe, he passed a shadow on the snow, a swirl of wind, and he was gone. The ruin of Dorthonion, Donailu in its waters warm, never again to look upon. No more shall hidden the bowstring sing, no more his shaven arrows wing, no more his haunted head shall lie upon the heath beneath the sky. The northern stars whose silver fire of old men name the burning briar was set behind his back and shone. O'er lands forsaken he was gone. Southward he turned and south away, his long and lonely journey lay, while ever loomed before his path the dreadful peaks of Gorgoroth. Never at foot of man most bold, yet trod those mountains steep and cold, nor climbed upon their sudden brink, when sickened eyes must turn and shrink to see the southward cliffs fall sheer in rocky pinnacle and pier, down into valleys that were late before the sun and moon were made. Dark magic lurked in gulf and glen, but out away beyond the ken of mortal sight the eagle's eye from dizzy towers that pierce the sky might gray and gleaming see afar, as sheen on waters under star. Beleriand, Beleriand, the borders of the elven land.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well done.